Use slideshow. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about mean stack. It might be a bit this. I did put it online now with my laptop. No one's here. Okay. So again, I'm gonna talk about mean stack. It might seem disorganized because I haven't really written about it and checked my thought process. So I'm just gonna spit out information and let's see how it goes. Yes, sure. Yes, yes. Are you a MERN person? Okay, so I'm not like this person because I don't know mean stack. I mean, I couldn't talk very good for now. So right now, mean stack basically means you have MongoDB, Express, Angular, and Node. And you can see here JS. That's a clue. We have pop quiz later. So again, what are their use cases? Basically, MongoDB is our database system. As Kevin already said, it's a NoSQL database. It's very fast, but not faster than Redis. Okay. Next, we have Express.
Oh, no, we cannot say that.
We cannot say that.
Looks like you're comparing airplane and the one. Looks like a car. An airplane fast.
In terms of throughput. In-memory cache. Next, we have Express to save you from the confusion. Basically, Express is another framework that is for Node.js. If Node.js is a framework for JavaScript for runtime, and Express is a framework for this to make it easier. AngularJS is your front-end framework. It helps you with the DOM manipulation and AJAX requests. Node.js, again, it's back-end runtime environment. Okay. So MongoDB, right now we have a 4.2, and it's a general purpose document-based distributed database built for modern application developers for the cloud era. And no database is more productive to use. It's not based on me, this is based on MongoDB website, okay? So don't take it against me. So right now, from what we've been doing, like Kevin has been creating hands-on, and I learned that MongoDB also provides this cloud service already. So think about DynamoDB. So MongoDB has their own cloud service for that. It's called Atlas Global Cloud Database. So you can deploy, operate, and scale a MongoDB database in the cloud with just a few clicks. I know it's UI. We don't like UI. Fully elastic. What's elastic? What's elasticity? Oh no, and highly available by people. MongoDB Atlas is the easiest way to try out the latest version of the database. So it looks like this. See? Click. And even the regions, it's based on AWS. Does that mean that they use the infrastructure of AWS? Okay. So there you go.
This is a MongoDB Atlas?
Yes. And we'll be doing this in the class as well. So we're going to have them do this. Apprendi.
They have to download also MongoDB on their machine, right?
We're going to have that simulation so that they experience installing. But after that, we're going to move on to
okay.
And then
For the JS?
For the full stack, mean full stack, yeah. So now what's Mongoose? We've been hearing Mongoose. So right now, what I'm seeing is like, there's a lot of frameworks on top of frameworks, the database and another framework. So Mongoose is basically something that would help you create your connections, creating your schema, doing getters, setters for MongoDB easier, and it looks more elegant. So again, a framework. And we'll be using that in class as well. It is an object modeling for Node.js. And it says here, writing MongoDB validation, casting and business logic boilerplate is a drag. That's why we wrote Mongoose. Okay? Okay. Drag? A drag is a... no, drag means it's very tedious. Let's say you need to create it over and over again, and a lot of code, super hard to build.
And this is just a sample code. Okay, and I'll move on because there's, for example, this one, connecting to MongoDB. You would just have to assign a variable, and that variable should hold the value of required Mongoose, meaning require that module or that library. And then afterwards, you can now access the API of Mongoose, and you can use mongoose.connect and show your local host URL and a parameter use URL parser true, and now you're connected to your DB. And this would differ again with the live, okay? Next is you can easily define a model. Again, requiring the modules of the Mongoose. Now we have access to the mongoose.schema API. And schema also has another API, which is object ID. And as you can see, this one already gives you a schema called blog post. You have the author, you have the ID, title as a string, body as a string, date in date format. Okay, let's move on with Express. So it's a fast and opinionated minimalist web framework for Node.js. Okay, when I was trying to check what's the difference between Node and Express, they're super closely related. I mean, how they are used. So it kind of makes no sense to really sometimes differentiate, oh, is this Node? Is this Express? Because most of the time it's used together. And sometimes when you write codes like, is this Express? Is this Node? Don't know. Good question. What's unopinionated? Meaning, dictionary. Look it up.
Google search.
Google search.
This is two. Are you using Node.js every day? Every day, yes or no? Yes. How about you? You are lying.
Everyone's using Node.js every day.
Because you are using Google Chrome. Google Chrome's version 6 engine. 8, version 8. That went to the without browse server side. Node.js. Why Google did the Internet Explorer? Why Microsoft lost the market? Microsoft, why they lost the browser market? Two things. First time they are dominating the world, now they lost it. Slow and not secure. All over product. That's why Chrome teams, Google watched that one. They brought to this engine.
Yeah. Right now they're very aggressive. They're advertising Microsoft Edge and Google and Chrome. Whenever you search for Chrome, I guess. So I think the meaning of unopinionated in this term is it doesn't really suggest stuff. That's what I get from it, and I'll get back to that next time. Next, so I found a blog that would quickly go over what the Express framework looks like. So it would have required statements, it has the use of middleware, it has routing, and the app.listen. And let's see. And before we go deeper into that, they give a good visualization. Like, let's say you're in a restaurant. There are 4 things that you think about. One is you hire a manager. And then when you hire the manager, you can ask, does he have a shirt and shoes? And 3rd, taking an order. And 4, open for the business. So let's go back in number 1. Did I dissect this? No, okay. Number 1, basically, again, when you have those cons, express, cons, app, basically you're assigning value, right? So code line number 1, what it says that, please grab this module and assign it to express. And now code line number 2, what happens is you get that express variable, you instantiate it, correct? Or right? Instantiate? No? Use that function? Or use that function, okay? And assign it to app. And now that's why when you see code line 4, code line 10, code line 14, when you do app and then the dot notation, you would have access to the APIs of Express, which are very verbose, meaning use, get, and listen. So another thing that you can use the app.use is you put your middleware there to do some logging. Okay, and get is just the get request. You can do post requests. Listen is just basically open up that port so that everyone in your local host, everyone can access your local host. Okay, no one still gets the trick about the local host. So I was saying, so you can expose your local host so everyone in the world can access it, which is not true. That was a joke. And it, yeah, never mind. Yeah. Okay, next is an example use of the middleware. So let's say we have a middleware called logger, and you can just put it in your app.ts file and put an app.use logger. And there's tons of ways you can use the middleware. One is you can use for cross-origin requests middleware. You can also do a cross-site request forgery middleware, authentication middleware, and main task. I don't know what does it mean, but basically maybe it says that it's going to do something in the middleware aside from the other thing. So an HTTP request would go first to this middleware, and then before it can send out an HTTP response. Okay, good to know. Next, AngularJS is a structural framework for dynamic web apps. It lets you use HTML as your template language and lets you extend HTML syntax to express your application's component clearly and succinctly. Okay, again, framework to make your life easier. And what it basically is good for, because it handles all the document object manipulation and AJAX requests, asynchronous JavaScript for that. Going back to the guys next time. And it's basically good for CRUD operations. So create, read, update, and delete. So you don't use this for a game app. So it's not utilized for that. It's very good for web apps though. Because it's good for CRUD operations. Because you don't do CRUD operations in a games app. Or maybe if you do something like let's say a read or process, it's very highly intensive process, I guess.
What was your question?
Why is it not for game app? Because I was
Excluded?
I mean Angular.
Oh.
Angular is
Yes.
No, that's
so you say Angular is good for CRUD operations.
Yes.
And then you say so it's not good for game app. So then
Yes.
so I just asked you.
Game doesn't need that one. This is all business application. CRUD means what? Create, read, update.
which is typically in
all
a web app.
database access. That's a business application.
Okay. And we all know the famous CVM controller. So it's just basically a separation of code. You don't put your code in one file or one folder. You try to redirect them using the controller. Maybe it goes to the view and talks to the model and vice versa.
So is it the same as MVC?
Yes, that's why I said that. It's MVC. So it's MVC, data model binding. I'll try to look on how to explain this more and basically writing less code. Again, frameworks, we use frameworks all the time to make it easier to write code, maintain, and make it more verbose, easier to understand for everyone. And this is how Angular would look like. I messed around with Angular before, but I don't know how to talk about it for now. So let's look at it. And that's it. Whoa, you're good.
Will you look at your slide again?
Oh, this one? So again, Angular's component, one of the things that you have to remember is you can separate things by component, kind of like React.
Did you learn the object orientation, right? This is a component based different. That's why industry looking for that kind of concept.
And if I remember correctly, injector could be like a decorator that you Yeah, I think it's injector that you can put up on top of your function, that it will always go to that injector before it goes to your function. Let's say you put an authentication first before it goes to your goes through your function, things like that. So that's it for now. And oh, I can show a code if there's no one using the time. So what I did right now is I comment out everything, and let's try to go over the code. So this one, the first line is, oh, yeah. My fault. Wait, let's close that one. Okay. Okay. So this is the app.ts file. And then basically we put the code there that we basically is the file that we run. We do an npm run tsc, compile it to a JavaScript code, and now we do a node app.js, and that runs the application. So what do we have in the app.ts? So let's say in code line number 1, you already know that we're gonna import Express from Express, meaning get that module. And then we can go ahead and start with line number 6 first. Assign the function to a variable. And then we can go ahead and check for this one as well for now. You do a app.listen so that everyone in the world can check your localhost.
Why did you select this result?
What?
Why did you select this result?
3000, it's the default.
No.
I don't know, because in the Rails it's the default. I don't have a good answer for that. If you can
Because when you select the port number 0 to 1010, the city was already the job.
Okay.
After that, then you have a choice, you can use it. 8080 already used a lot of application server. So generally they chose this one. You can change the number.
That should be fine.
No, as long as you are following the IANA, there is organization, they are defining the port number. So they usually say 0 to 1000 for the job, on budget. For example, port number 80, you cannot use it. After that, you have flexibility.
So
That's why when you go to the interview, top senior developer always teaching, oh, why did you choose that? Oh, do you remember 3000? Yes, I like it. They know right away. This guy teaching, he cannot understand how TCP IP works. TCP is what? IP is what? IP. So we're gonna have to ask you right away. So you can answer. You can tell how much you know.
So we'll continue with, let's say you want to create an orders controller. Right now, we're not gonna go with a model. So we just have view and controller. And this one would just say that, oh, let's import this order controller from where? Controller/order controller. It means it's a path. You have to create your own file like this, another controller. So this one is, again, from Express. You import the request and response, and then build this code. It just means that whenever this controller is accessed, it will do a console.log, the order controller is called, and it would spit out a response. This is the order page, and another console.log after that response. And it would say the order controller is finished. And after you build the code, you always need to remember that you have to export that, meaning this const handler, you have to export that again so that other files can, other files can go ahead and import that file, okay? And then it goes to here. Let's go back there. And then another thing we have to do is use a view. You set what views that the app will go to, and it will go to these views here, and use the view engine EJS. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's embedded JavaScript. Nope. Extended JavaScript. I think it's embedded JavaScript. Embedded JavaScript. There you go. I got lucky. So one thing I found out is that when I was doing Rails, I also have instead of the RB file, I have the ERB, and it looks the same. Meaning I would have to use the same syntax of this %sign and equals, and close that with a %sign, and then a greater than tag. So, okay, going back here, we said that it's gonna go to that views and use the view engine EJS, okay? Now, let's say we create now the get request. And this will simulate like a router function, okay? So whenever a user would go to the /, meaning the home page, or let's say localhost, whatever, it will grab the request and response, and that will render the index. This index goes to this one, okay? And now it says that render that index.ejs file, and then let me supply you with this 2 key value pair, title and the value, the index page title, the key content, and this is the content for the index page. So what happens here now is if you run this app, this title would be changed with this is my index page. This is index page title. And content would be, this is the content for the index page. Okay? And then, let's see. Now, because we already also created the orders controller, so we also create the orders page. And basically, we just supply that with the /order. You can do whatever you want, but basically that's it. And then whenever a user goes to, let's say, your app name /order, it will then go to the order controller, which is here. And again, it will call out that, and you would have those console logs output. Next is adding middlewares. You just do the app.use. And also, we have to import that from middleware/logging, which is here. And then it follows the same format as what we've done in the orders controller. But one thing that you have to note about is you put the next, then it's a function type. And then you would also have to call this next function again. So it's a recursive, right? Nope. No, not recursive. It would keep calling the function. Nope. Can you correct me? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, I haven't looked at it, and I was like, oh, there's next and there's next. It's like, is it calling the function again? Okay. Okay, awesome. So basically, that's it for now, and I'll have more clear explanation, and hopefully everyone would be at the same page next time.
Yes, it's a tough topic.
Tough, but very interesting topic.